Welcome back to Helping Heather. Today is January 3rd. I'm doing a few non-keto things right now, and I guess one keto thing. So one keto thing I have done is I had made a drop my I would admit I had made a cheese sauce that was keto and to make cauliflower cheese with one of my suppers, cauliflower basically with cheese sauce on it. Just to make cauliflower a little bit more interesting, get a little bit more fat and satisfaction in my meal. So I have kind of cooked some more cauliflower and made it into like a casserole, adding some bone broth to kind of thin out the cheese sauce. I know I'm baking it at about 375. Another thing I'm doing that Nicole Svensson taught me just today, using leftover ham to make ham and cheese waffles. So it's kind of the last two waffles I have to make, but you use pancake mix, which I had some, and the leftover ham and cheese. And I'm just doing it on my, I don't know if you can see this little waffle iron. It's a mini dash that I like to make waffles on. So I'm just going to put another waffle on there, get that cooking, and that's going to go in the freezer to get warmed up in the microwave. So these are them. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I fed her 2, and I've got 2 more. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's great. It was about between a half a cup and a cup of ham leftover chopped up, and then I grated on the fine grater so that the cheese would go through the batter a little bit more. About like I had a block of marble cheese because that's the fave. This much grated up. Looks like about a cup, just more than a cup of cheese. And I used 2 cups of the pancake batter. And each cup for my box of pancake batter, it's 2/3 cup of water. So I just did that twice, mix it up. Looks great. Cook it on the waffle iron and off we go. Another thing I'm doing, I had bought for Christmas treats for my family, not me, these butterscotch kits, and I never got a chance to use it. It's kind of like a pantry challenge for me in January now. We do have quite a few pantry and freezer items and fridge items to steward. So that's what I'm working on today. And we are a big egg family, and I'm picky about the eggs. So I like to get the farm fresh eggs for $13 for 30. In the summer, you can find them everywhere. I can even get them delivered in to work for a cheaper price than the grocery store fresh off the farm. But in the wintertime here, it's hard. So we're kind of low on eggs. And before I go out and buy stuff, because I know myself, be like, oh, look at all this lovely stuff I want to have. I'm trying to make some stuff. And I don't have a lot of eggs. And in case I don't go out to get some, I don't want to use an egg. So I'm going to use, for this recipe, that's a granola bar, I'm going to use these tips. Some oatmeal. I'm picky about my oatmeal. It's got to be organic, glyphosate free. And I'm going to use a flax egg instead of an egg if the recipe calls for an egg. So I'm going to take a look and see if my recipe does. I have my bananas defrosting. I'll show you. So I got a pack. Oh yeah, this is quite thought. I got a pack of, I want to say about 10 of these kind of really ripe bananas, but $1.77 at a grocery store. And they're the ones they're called them baking bananas. So that's always a good source of potassium for my family. And so I like to grab and have some in the freezer all the time. So I'm going to try and follow a granola bar recipe with using those kinds of ingredients. I'm probably going to chop and put some, if I have some pumpkin seeds or something like that in there. And I'll probably attempt to use that up as well and just see what else I have. I probably have some coconut and things like that. I'm going to kind of do that, and I'll show you what I end up doing. So for a thing like that, I will follow a granola bar recipe loosely, and typically a granola bar is just some dry ingredients and you mix up some wet ingredients and you put them together and you put it out on a parchment lined sheet, and you bake it, and then you cut them up. And some granola bar recipes are more like a baked cookie, and some are more, sticky granola. I don't have honey here, so I won't be using that. So I just have to look through recipes to see what I'm going to do there. I'm also going to pull out my lower freezer here and see all the goodies I have in there and what I would like to steward. Same with down in my freezers and my pantry. Kind of just look. I've already done the fridge where I've seen everything I need, and that's where I was like, oh, I got to use the cheese sauce. Oh, I have ground pork and pork chops out from the freezer. And living in the small town, how we do things, because it's in about an hour and a half to the city for us. When I go shopping, I'm spending $500 at least, and I'm going to try and make it so that I have, I buy bulk meat and I break it down into meal-sized portions and put them in the freezer. Likewise with anything else, cheese, things like that. So you're buying a bigger volume of a small amount of things. So you come home with maybe 10 different kinds of things, but a lot of them, or you need a lot of produce, and so you only buy a little bit of meat. And so we live out of the freezer for the most part, because our small town grocery store is highly expensive to buy anything there. Like typically I'll just go for dairy and produce as I need it. And so like a peanut butter has always been $20 or more here, and $30-$40 for your coffee. So you got to be mindful of those things. Sometimes you get good sales on things. It's just the loss leader. So you go there for those kinds of things, and that's about it. So we end up breaking down, big tubes of ground beef and chicken, and sometimes buying the freezer boxes of meat and stuff like that. And so you need more freezer space. So we do have more freezers. And so I have a second fridge downstairs, and I like this because that fridge is basically the raw meat fridge. The top shelf might be leftovers or some other things, but and then we have trays and containers to pull the things out of the freezer and thaw that catch the juice. So then you go down there. I go down there a couple times a week, and I'll look into the freezer and I'll pull out the different meats I want for the week, and that's how I do it. Rather than a meal plan, we kind of base our meals based on the meat we've pulled out. And so I have ground pork and I have pork chops out. And I have some leftover cranberry sauce from the holidays. It's highly acidic, lots of sugar in it, so that it's perfectly safe to keep using. It's been about a week, maybe 9 days. It's like jam, as long as it doesn't have any mold on it, which it doesn't, because we're clean when we put our spoons in, it's fine to use. So today, though, I want to use it up, and I want to use it up to make like a cranberry barbecue sauce for some meatballs. Now, of course, that's not keto for me, but I made some sugar-free grape jelly for myself at the end of summer, or actually in the fall here. So I am going to probably just make a smaller little bit of version of that kind of barbecue sauce using that for myself with these meatballs today. And that's one of my husband's favorite things to eat with ground pork is meatballs. So I think that's what we'll do today. And I'm just going to pause it as I get a couple things going, and we'll come right back. Back again. So I'm just looking through my recipes to look for all the granola bar recipes I've done in the past. So instead of oil, which is expensive and higher calorie, I try and use, the mashed banana will help, but also applesauce instead. And that also adds a little bit of sweetness. So we shall see if I can. I always like lots of different recipes. I use like a recipe card index thing to keep them all, but then you have to kind of go through them all. So I'm looking for a different way to do recipes. I have so many cookbooks. I have so many recipes I printed out that I like, recipes on my phone that I like, these recipe cards just everywhere. And half my life is spent, where's that recipe I really liked, right? So I have taken a look at some cookbook software. Yeah, okay, it's not in this bunch of cards. So I will look at the desserts and see. I heard my waffle thing go off, and I put an extra big amount of batter in there. So I'm going to leave it going for another little minute. with my desserts. And I don't know if I would have put granola bars in dessert. Yeah. So some other things I do with leftover ham is I chop and put it in the freezer for uh, pizza toppings. I was considering that. Baked oatmeal snack bars. That sounds kind of like a granola bar. Oh, that's a cookie. Could do breakfast cookies too. Just trying to prepare for the week back to school so that I could make sure that there's some good items for on offer to have for breakfasts and snacks and all that stuff. Okay, here peanut butter and honey granola bars. Okay. I was thinking of sending this to school, and there is peanut allergy, so I'm not going to do uh, peanut butter, but I could find an alternate probably. Kind of following the recipe loosely is the plan. Okay, well, I'm just going to keep looking. I won't make you watch me. Okay, I'm back. So I found like 4 different recipes. Uh, so basically, when I'm looking at the recipes, I'm looking at the liquid to dry ingredient ratios and what type of liquids. Each one's very similar. Not everyone has egg in it. This peanut butter and honey granola bar is like one of those ones that would be like sticky, like you get from the boxes, that kind of one. I do like that style, but I don't have honey or peanut butter. And the egg white also is a good binder. So I might consider that because I do have protein powder egg white. It's just egg whites that I could use. For that, this granola bar recipe has butter and sugar, oats, flour. It's kind of like a baked granola bar cookie. So I think we're going to have to do something like that. That's kind of the one I'm going to look at. Baked oatmeal snack bar. This says using leftover oatmeal. So I've used this with leftover oatmeal before. And so it's got a mix of nuts, dried fruit, seeds, cinnamon, vanilla, salt, milk, and egg is the liquid element here. And so this does have, I think, probably like a baked cookie type of granola bar. And then this healthy granola bar one is trail mix oatmeal, chocolate chips, 3 ripe bananas, egg, and honey. And then you bake it at 350. So I kind of like this one too, though I don't have trail mix. So I think I'm going to go get 1 more banana because this has 3 and I've just defrosted and I've got 2. But before I do that, I'm going to put you on hold when I do that. Before I do that, I've chopped up some walnuts. I have like a little nut and seed bin in my cupboard that I can just pull out. So if I'm making like bento boxes for lunch and I can, take a couple of pistachios. If I have dried fruit, I'll also put it in here. I like the dried strawberries and mango and things like that for the kids. I have hemp hearts in there. This has got great protein, fiber, a nice little crunch. So I add these to salads. I'll add it to my chia bowls. But I'm going to use some of this for these granola bars because I like the nutritional benefits and people like the taste. And then this is how much coconut I have. And this is how much. So the main nut I have is walnuts. And I had that for a Christmas cookie recipe. So I have quite a lot more. They're good for your brain and stuff. So I've got this kind of amount chopped up for this recipe. And then there's my flax meals, which I'm going to use in replacement of eggs. I might put in, just to bump up the protein and binding effect, a couple tablespoons of the egg white powder. I don't want to use milk in this recipe. So for this healthy granola bar easy recipe, it doesn't have any added sugar. It uses 3 ripe bananas and 2 tablespoons of honey. So I think that's the main base recipe I'm going to use actually and see how that turns out. So let me go get another banana defrosted and I'll be right back. Oh wait, let me just check on the cauliflower. The waffles are done. Yeah, it's bubbling away. So what I was hoping for is I cooked the cauliflower till they were not as done as I wanted them to be because I knew that the sauce I was making was a little bit liquidy and I wanted the broth and the cheesy broth kind of cheese sauce to seep into the cauliflower as it cooked down, and then I wanted it to kind of meld together by the end. When I'm done, I'm going to take them out. I might sprinkle some cheese on top and rebake. Just depends upon what it looks like. So this is cooking by feel and using what you have. It's kind of like doing your own little chopped mini series in your house. And this is how many waffles I got. Some are bigger than others. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total. And then she ate 2, which she said they were good. So what I'm going to do is freeze these on a tray in one of my freezers. I have these good trays. This is the one I'm going to do the granola bars on. And I'm almost feeling that I want to do a double batch of these granola bars because I have so many of these chips. And this recipe had half a cup of chocolate chips. So I'm going to do this instead of chocolate. I think I'm going to take out 4 bananas and do 4. And do 6 total and double this recipe because then I can put half batch into the freezer. So I'm going to freeze these, and then after I clean out this bottom of this fridge, because I'm seeing a lot of people having that super organized and awesome, and I really need to do a better job of that where I have it all organized and awesome and ready for being able to pull out. Like, so right now I do have brand Saskatoon muffins. We don't have a lot of blueberries. You pick Saskatoons here in Alberta. We have a lot of those. I have a lot of blackcurrants because we grow them, and raspberries, frozen fruit in the freezer. And I freeze them on trays. I have like these kind of old, rough looking trays that I'll put in the freezer because I don't care if they get a little bit warped or weird. So I'll use these to freeze on things. And so I'll put parchment down and I'll freeze all the raspberries. And then I use Folgers coffee containers. I never get rid of them. The big Folgers coffee containers, that plastic. It is it's okay to be reused. We've researched that. And so I find that when I freeze on trays, the berries, the different things that we have, if I grow a bunch of green beans or get some green beans from the grocery store, chop them, put them on the sheet, I can put them in Folgers containers, and then they stack nicely in the freezer. And I put either a label or I'll have a white kind of paint pen that I can write on there what it is. But we typically put the same things in there. So I've even frozen meatballs. So if I get a really big batch of ground pork, ground turkey, ground beef, I might make various flavors of meatballs, freeze them on trays, and then once they're frozen, put them into the Folgers containers and stack them. So then when I need a quick supper, quick to put together supper, I'll throw some meatballs on. Have a lot of these glass containers from the thrift stores. They work really good. They're easy to clean up and keep clean because you just use these metal scrubbies. You really can't scratch them up. And then I cook everything on them. I'll cook my bacon, my breakfast sausage. When I do eggs Benny, I'll put a little bit of water, maybe a little bit of butter on the bottom, and crack all the eggs in there, salt and pepper, put them and bake them at 325, 350 for about 15, 20 minutes to the doneness that I want. Then cut them all up, and then you have I toast my muffins in the oven, and you have your bacon, and you make your hollandaise sauce, and it's really easy to do a whole bunch of eggs Benny at once. So anyway, I just love those glass pans. Of course, you can make lasagnas and freeze them in that, and I have some that have lids and others that I don't. So if I don't have a lid, then I'll just use the foil on it, and then I'll write on the foil what it is, what to bake it in, that kind of thing. That's kind of my strategy in the kitchen. So let me go get my bananas. I'm going to set this up so I can, since I'm going down, I'm going to try and be efficient. And before I go down, I'm going to put these on my tray and put it down into the freezer to set up. And then once they're frozen, I am going to put them in a bag or container, and I want to make them fit right here so that it's easy for breakfasts. At some point, I'm going to pull everything out of that today. That's my project for the day, to reorganize and have it set up for our week. So it's things we need for the week. And I just want to make sure that it's easy to get to, because often those kind of drawers get all messed up. So anyway, I'm going to finish the granola bars and I'll show you that first. Hi. So back. I have the other bananas defrosting, and I was going to show you how to do flax eggs. So I had to quickly look it up. I knew it was a mixture of just flax meal and water. So I buy the flax meal. If you have flax seeds, you'll need to grind them up. I use like a coffee grinder. I'll show you. Just a cheap one. We don't use this for coffee anymore. We use it for um, I make my own icing sugar substitute, depending. So that's all. I think the last thing I did in here, whiz up a bunch of granulated sugar to turn it into icing sugar if I ran out of what I had or whatever. So if you have flax seeds and not flax meal, you can just whiz them up in something like this or a food processor, and that would work out just fine. Same with spices. Those are the cheapest. So anyway, to make a flax egg, and for our recipe, we need 1 egg per recipe, and I'm going to double it. So I'm going to do 2 flax eggs. What you need is 1 per egg, 1 tablespoon of flax meal, and 3 tablespoons of water. So I'm going to do 2 of these, and then I'm going to do 6 of water. Boring, I know. Sorry about that. I'm just going to mix it up in this bowl. Just to mix it up, and then leave it for 30 seconds, and it should form like a little bit of a gel. So instead of putting flax meal in my granola bars, that's what I'm going to do for that. The next thing, so banana is going to be the bulk of the liquid ingredients, and then they added honey, 2 tablespoons of honey. I am going to do brown sugar because I like the idea of those tastes. And again, it's 2 tablespoons per recipe. So I'm in, oh goodness, this one's a bit hard. Don't love that. Where's my brown sugar? Oh, it's just not necessarily a little bit, but around the edges, softer. I'm gonna have to find my brown sugar saver thing, but that'll be okay for now. So I'm just gonna do 1 and 2. It'll loosen up as it interacts with this banana. 3. And there's about maybe a little bit more, 4. Anyway, yes, so there's my brown sugar and the start of my banana. I'm just gonna give that a bit of a stir and a crunch to get that absorbed. I think vanilla goes in everything baked if it's appropriate. And we just measure with our heart. Okay. Mix that up. This flax meal is kind of getting a little bit more goopy. You can also sub chia seeds if you like. And I can find the ground chia seeds too. They can be a little bit more expensive, but I've only ever found them in town, and it's way, way more expensive in town here. So that is another add-in you could do. I'm going to get the dry ingredients going in here. 2 cups of trail mix. Okay, so to me, that's 4 cups. Ooh, goodness. Do I have 4 cups of everything I was doing here? And then 4 cups of oatmeal. I might have to chop up more walnuts. We shall see. And that's the kind of thing I get myself into. Oh, I want to use all those bananas and I want the end result. But did I think about having every single one of those ingredients? 3 and 4. Now I have the oatmeal. And this is large flake oatmeal. That should be fine. Then 4 cups of add-ins. Let me see. This is mine. That's not even a cup of walnuts. Yeah, I'll be chopping some more. Okay. And then coconut. I mean, I'm fine if I use all this stuff. That's kind of the point, so you can make sure you rotate out your stock all the time. Coconut. Okay, so with the walnuts I already had and the coconut, that's 1 cup. And I need 3 more. Not looking good. But hey, walnuts are fine. I have lots of those. Okay, so that's 2 cups with these hemp hearts in there. Perfect. If I had almonds, sunflower seeds, dried fruit, any of that, I would add it in. I like having these empty bags, getting things out of my cupboard. It's awesome. Might even do more flax meal. Why not? And I always need a pinch of salt in anything. You always need a little bit. Maybe I'll just do a double, especially caramelly, butterscotchy tasting things. Do a little bit of a stir. That's all right. Okay. I want to put some cinnamon in here, and then I am going to pause and go grab some walnuts and start chopping. But it's kind of looking like mostly oatmeal. That's fine. In our family, that's fine. Because, hey, you get to eat. It's basically a conduit for the butterscotch chips. And I have more, like the recipe calls for 2 half a cups. So 1 cup of these, right? In this pack. Well, that's 1 cup. It's almost 2 cups. So I'll just cut up another cup of walnuts to have that in there. And then we should be good. Okay. Hi, I figured I would talk to you a little shopping. I put the bananas on for the defrost, and the cauliflower timer went. So now it's done. And I just want to give you one more cooking tip that when you take something out of the oven, letting it rest helps it to set up, helps it to reabsorb and cool and thicken. So when this cauliflower dish has come out of the oven, it's looking a little bit more liquidy. It's looking pretty good, you know? But letting that cool all the way. I may or may not put more cheese on there. Probably not. It looks pretty good to me already. That's for supper tonight, but I wanted to experiment with it. I haven't done this before. That was the cheese sauce, a different recipe I had done. I used a little bit of xanthan gum, and it set up a bit much in the fridge. Every time you use xanthan gum, it tends to set up in the fridge a little bit. But I have that now set up, and my oven is set to 350 degrees, which is the temperature for these granola bars. And now I have chopped up the next batch of walnuts, and that's going in there. I snuck a little bit more cinnamon and vanilla in because I want those flavors to go. And I just took another quick peek, and I don't have that much. I don't have any dried fruit. I don't have anything else to kind of add in that way, which is fine. That's the point of using the stuff up. And then after January, when it's the pantry challenge, January, February, March, somewhere around in there, I might start restocking on things. But I tend to get the stock up vibe. Does anybody else get the stock up vibe in the fall? And then you end up squirreling all kinds of things away. And then for me, especially with keto, I'm looking at my recipe books and I'm buying new things to make those recipes, and instead of using the things that I have. Now, granted, keto is a little harder. Like, this is not a keto recipe. If I wanted to make keto granola bars, which I have done in the past, excuse my dog. I would do, and this is the flax egg after. No, it's still liquidy, but it'll do the binding work we want it to do. I'm going to put it in with the bananas here. But if you want to do a keto granola bar, just like keto granola, it's literally just nuts and seeds, coconut, things like that. You usually really don't use dried fruit. You couldn't use the banana in there. So you'd find for liquid, often there's coconut oil or butter. There's not a lot of options for liquid sweeteners like stevia drops, but that's not a lot of volume. And in baking, you usually need the sweetener to have some also volume. So yeah, it's tricky. Nut butters are typically the basis of that. And even though, all those items on their own are lower carb, put them all together, you're going to get a granola bar that's really small as you're serving, because if you're trying to stay under 20 grams of carbs like me, which is really challenging, you have to formulate your diet and make sure you're getting in lots of satisfying fats. So to me, my favorite way right now is dips. So pork rinds and veggies with dips, but mostly pork rinds because the veggies I'll go over on my carbs as well. So that's for that. Anyway, so this is how our mixture is looking. And I feel like our bananas are probably ready to be mashed. Yeah. So $1.77 for all these bananas. And I probably still have half the amount still there. So call it what? $1 worth of bananas, we'll say. And then the ingredients, the rest of them I had on hand, and I'm just trying to use up. If I wasn't trying to send this as a snack to school, I would probably put the peanut butter in it, but I want to be able to have that ability. Yeah. And I'm doing a double batch so that I can have half in the freezer so I can pull them out. And when I'm done, when they're cooled and they're cut, I plan to wrap each one in parchment paper as an individual granola bar. And if I'm not too pooped at the end of that day, I might put a little piece of book on there and label it so that when she opens it up at school, it's cute and has a little bit of, I'm not a very good artist and my kids are really good artists. So it will have a funny face, basically. Maybe a little "I love you" message or something. So then she has that for her school snack or whatever. I don't know if your kids like to eat breakfast in the morning. Mine's sometimes and sometimes it's not. So I like to have like a muffin or pancake or that waffle I just made or some of these granola bars or whatever as something to take with you so that in your first or second class, if you didn't eat breakfast or didn't eat enough breakfast, they have a little snack they can have before lunch. That's kind of my strategy. One banana is a bit frozen, so I'm squishing it alongside this thing, but this is about what we're working with. The banana's oxidized a bit, and we've got vanilla in there, making it the brown color, and the brown sugar as well. The recipe called for honey, but I don't have that. And so I feel like the brown sugar is okay, but I might need to add a bit of water to replace for the liquid. We'll just see. Anyway, in order for this to be, I don't know if I can just put this down to have you see a little bit better. Maybe. Yeah, so we're just going to mix these up together. I'm trying to get most of the banana lumps out so that it's liquid, adding to the liquid. And we'll see how this goes together. This looks disproportionate, but that's okay. We'll give it a whirl. Just go right in and dump it in. Okay, and now it's a mix till it's all incorporated, and then you lay it out on your cookie sheet. I should probably get a second one since I doubled the batch. But what I might do, what I often do when I double a batch, and I haven't done this recipe, or I'm making an alteration, and I'm not sure about it, is do a half batch, keep the other batch back and see how that one does. And if I want to change the second batch in any sort of way. This is a bit dry, not too bad. Actually, yeah, it's coming together. You just gotta stir, keep stirring, keep moving stuff around, get them down the sides. Oh, yeah, that looks good. Yeah, my recipe didn't have any cinnamon in it or vanilla, so I've changed that. And then I'm using butterscotch chips. Okay, so that's what it looks like. That's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. So let's put it on this tray and bake it up. And then I will pause till they're ready and show you that and see if I want to change it. That's about, I mean, we don't have to be exact in my kitchen. You can be exact in your kitchen. I'm not exact in my kitchen. And you know what? I'm going to pat it down with my hands. Why not? Put it in a square. There is no, I don't think with the ingredients that we have. I mean, aside from the egg we replaced, which I don't think flax eggs, they work for binding, but they don't really necessarily work for rising. Granola bars are not really an item you need to rise. So I feel like it's going to stay the way that I put it. And I think what I'm going to do when I cut it is cut the whole thing down half and then into bars. I just want a sharp edge as much as possible and for it to be even enough so that it will cook evenly and I don't have any uncooked or undercooked or overcooked parts. The corners are the ones to pay attention to. So usually they're like down and they burn. So I want to make them a little sharper and higher. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be rustic like everything Heather does. It's rustic. That's what we call it to make us sound like we're intentional. But I'm just not that detail orientated in the sense of all that. So I'm going to wash my hands real quick. I've got about half of this rest. Here's what it looks like. It's a bit shifty. 15 to 20 minutes is the baking time. I'll put you back up here. 15 to 20 minutes. So I'm going to just toss it in there and do an Alexa timer. Alexa, please do a 15-minute timer.
15-minute timer started.
Okay, good. She didn't gaslight me this time. Sometimes she does. So let's see what the cauliflower cheese has done. Oh yeah, that's really solidified. I mean, there's a little bit of liquid there at the bottom. Not the end of my world. I can choose to drain it off. I can choose to try and thicken it again, but we'll see. I'm going to cool it and put it in the fridge and then bring it out for supper. And then there's this batch that has to get baked and I will do that after. So doing fairly good. I've stewarded some bananas. I've stewarded the butterscotch chips in a way that my family's going to get the potassium from the banana, the fiber, the nutrients from walnuts. Lower sugar because there's only in the whole batch 4 tablespoons of brown sugar, so that's good. Yeah, that is done. Cauliflower and cheese sauce is stewarded. And now I want to work on the bottom of the freezer there. So I think this is 39 minutes. I'm going to pause, clean up, and then when their granola bars are done, I'm going to show you that. And if I like them, I'm just going to bake the second batch. I won't show you that. And then we'll carry on. And I'll probably do another video on how I do my downstairs. That's my dog. He's a pig farmer. That's a little pig he's got in his mouth, and he just loves it. We call the pig Hamilton. He's such a silly guy. He likes to help me in the kitchen, of course, especially if there's meat involved. Anyway, so I'm probably going to do another video on cleaning that out, pulling everything out. So I got to get my kitchen ready for that. Got some dishes to kind of clean up, counter space to clean up. So I'll do that, and I'll be back to show you this end of the granola bars, and then I'm going to upload this video and then do another video on what I'm going to do. Because when I pull out everything out of the freezer, I'm going to then be inspired. Oh, I have this set aside for this dish, or I could do this with that. And then, because typically that's where the odds and ends, you use some, put it back in there of everything is. I don't know if yours freezer does that. So it's a good January job to do. And that's the vibe I'm in is cleaning things up. So I'll get back with the granola bars and then look for my other video on the freezer. Hi there, granola bars beeped. I just did 15 minutes. Oh, goodness. Just to keep the heat in there. How to tell if these are done? Well, looking at them, they don't look done. So I'm going to go 5 more minutes. Alexa, do a 5-minute timer, please.
5-minute timer started.
So I was looking for some more browning on the edges and things like that. I think I patted it out a little thicker than the recipe. I might go another 5 or 10 minutes as well. And then the next step will be to let it set up and cool all the way, and then attempt to cut them into bars, okay? So I haven't done my second batch yet. I haven't baked that. That's still sitting here. And I'm waiting to see if these become crumbly. You know, how long they take to cook, that kind of thing. And if they become crumbly, and the reason I did them thick is so they had a chance to stick together. If you do them too thin, sometimes they can be too crumbly. Just like kitchen's a busy place. Anyway, so I did it thicker so it has a chance to set up kind of like a cookie bar kind of thing instead, so that it won't crumble. Because that's the thing with granola bars is it crumbling. So I'm doing the dishes. I don't know if it happens to you. Had to change my shirt. Got it all wet. Oh wait, every time. I don't know. Does that happen to you? I actually wear an apron, but I just couldn't be bothered. So, yeah, I'm waiting to see. And what I'm going to do, if it's too crumbly, after letting it set up and cut, after it's to the place where I think it's browned enough, then I'm going to add probably 2 egg whites to this. And I have this egg white powder, which I'll show you if I get there. If not, I'll show you on another recipe that I'll use. And I'll probably just mix up in a separate bowl and then distribute it and put it in there and then try baking them again. And then I bet you that it'll work better if that's the case. So anyway, stay tuned. We'll see how these turn out. If they turn out good, I'll probably just put like my basic recipe. And really when I'm doing it, I pick, you know, this is how much wet ingredients, this is how much dry ingredients, can mix and match, and then try it together. And then I kind of wing the binding piece. So if I would have put eggs in there, they would have acted a little bit differently than the flax meal eggs, but that's okay. If it turns out crumbly, but it's cooked all the way through, I might just turn it into granola for them to have instead. Or try again and bake it after baked. Who knows? Sometimes the best baked things come from you playing around and then you can never redo it. So it's a once in a lifetime experience. Okay, just wait to see what happens. Okay, so what you didn't see was 2 more 5-minute times in so that's 30 minutes total at 3:15. Now let's see what it looks like. Can smell it. And it's a bit bubbly and brown on the edges. So I do feel like that is cooked. Let me check that tooth. See if it goes in there okay. Nice and clean. Okay, I'm going to call that done. So we're going to leave that to cool. In fact, I might just take out a cutting board and shift the whole paper over. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, it did it where it doesn't really crumble. So that's a good sign. Just needed 10 extra minutes because I did it thicker. I might just, for the sake of getting done this project, just do the other one like this and see how she goes. Yeah, it seems to have set right up like a cookie bar. That's awesome. So part of me wants to cut it just to confirm before I do the next step, but my future self might thank me if I don't. So I'm just going to wait. So I'm going to pause you again and we'll come back once it's cooled, try cutting it, and then we'll see if I need to add anything to the next batch. And if not, we will bake them as is.